He may even identify himself with it and believe that he is what he appears to be.
Welcome to the NCE Study Guide. I created this study guide using ChatGPT and Notebook LM. So think of these modules as AI-powered audio flashcards. Each one of these 20 modules contains 10 mock questions representing the kind of questions that you might encounter on the National Counseling exam. I created this primarily for myself, and I decided to make these available to anyone else who might benefit from this kind of study aid. But please note, while I have done my best to ensure that these modules align with NCE content, I encourage you to cross-reference them with trusted study guides and resources for the most accurate preparation. These modules are not affiliated with or endorsed by the NBCC or any official licensing board. So, with no further ado, here are your AI study buddies from Notebook LM. Enjoy.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive to help you prep for the NCE?
Absolutely. Let's tackle Module 15.
Perfect. Now, full disclosure, I actually use this really cool AI tool called Notebook LM to help create this. Think of it as like making audio flashcards for you.
Super efficient. We're going to go through questions 141 to 150.
Exactly, breaking down each question, and we'll even dissect those tricky multiple choice options.
So you're not just memorizing, you're actually understanding the concepts.
Okay, let's get started with question 141. It asks, in family systems theory, what is the term for the emotional process by which individuals manage unresolved issues by reducing or severing contact with their family?
Sounds intense.
Right. Here are the options. A, differentiation, B, enmeshment, C, emotional cutoff, D, triangulation.
All right, let's start with differentiation. That's about, how well someone can be their own person while still being connected to their family.
So like a young adult who moves out but still calls their parents for advice. Still connected but independent.
Exactly. Now, enmeshment, that's kind of the opposite.
Okay, so like...
It's when boundaries are blurry, everyone's up in everyone else's business.
Oh, I've seen that. What about emotional cutoff?
Emotional cutoff, that's when you basically distance yourself to cope with family tension. It could be physically moving away or just emotionally shutting down.
So it's about managing those issues but not necessarily resolving them.
Yeah, exactly.
And finally, we have triangulation.
Ah, classic triangulation. This is when two people in a relationship bring in a third person.
Like a child caught in the middle of their parents arguing?
Yep, or friends getting involved in a couples fight. It happens when there's underlying tension.
Okay, back to the question. In family systems theory, what is the term for the emotional process by which individuals manage unresolved issues by reducing or severing contact with their family? What's the correct term?
The answer is C, emotional cutoff. Remember, it's all about creating that distance.
Makes sense. Okay, on to question 142. Which term refers to a counselor's legal obligation to act in the best interest of their client? Your options. A, duty to warn. B, fiduciary responsibility. C, privileged communication. D, informed consent.
Let's start with duty to warn. This one's a big one. It's when a client poses a threat to themselves or others.
So like if they say they're going to harm someone, the counselor might have to break confidentiality.
Right, it's about safety. Now, fiduciary responsibility is about trust.
Like a financial advisor who has to manage your money in your best interest, not theirs.
Exactly, same idea in counseling.
Okay, privileged communication. I always think of that as like the core of therapy.
It is. It means what you talk about in therapy stays confidential. It lets clients open up without fear.
And finally, informed consent.
Informed consent is about transparency. It's making sure the client understands everything about therapy, the goals, risks, their rights.
So they can make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, back to the question. Which term refers to a counselor's legal obligation to act in the best interest of their client? Which one is it?
The answer is B, fiduciary responsibility. Remember, it's that legal duty to act in the client's best interest.
Got it. Question 143. In career counseling, which theory emphasizes the importance of aligning individual traits with job characteristics? Your options. A, Holland's theory of vocational choice. B, Super's developmental theory. C, Krumboltz's social learning theory. D, Gindberg's career development theory.
Holland's theory, that's all about finding a good fit between your personality and your work.
Like if you're really artistic, you'd probably thrive in a creative field like graphic design.
Right. Now, Super's developmental theory looks at career development over your whole life.
Well, that's interesting, like how our career aspirations change as we grow up.
Yeah, like a kid wanting to be an astronaut, then maybe later focusing on science and eventually landing in a research career.
Makes sense. What about Crumble's social learning theory?
Crumble says our experiences, from school to chance encounters, shape our career paths.
So like stumbling into a volunteer gig and discovering a new passion.
Exactly, serendipity. And then there's Ginsberg's theory.
Okay, what's that one about?
This one emphasizes exploration and decision-making in choosing a career. It's about how our values, interests, and, the realities of the job market all play a role.
Okay, so back to the question. In career counseling, which theory emphasizes the importance of aligning individual traits with job characteristics?
Right.
Which theory fits best?
It's A, Holland's theory of vocational choice. It's all about that personality work match.
Right, question 144. What is the primary focus of Bowenian family therapy? Options. A, exploring unconscious patterns in family dynamics. B, improving family communication and problem solving. C, reducing emotional reactivity and increasing differentiation. D, establishing clearer boundaries in enmeshed families.
Let's see. Option A, exploring unconscious patterns. That's important, but not the main focus in Bowenian therapy.
So what is the main focus?
It's all about option C, reducing that emotional reactivity and increasing differentiation.
So helping family members become less emotionally tangled and better able to make their own choices.
Exactly. Like if you have a family where everyone overreacts to each other's moods, Bowenian therapy would help them chill out and become more independent.
Interesting. Option B, improving family communication. That's important, but...
Yeah, it's important in a lot of therapies, but not the defining feature of Bowenian therapy.
And option D, establishing clearer boundaries. That seems crucial too.
Oh, it is, but Bowenian therapy goes deeper. It helps individuals develop a stronger sense of self.
So they can naturally set those boundaries.
Right.
So what is the primary focus of Bowenian family therapy? What's the best answer?
C is the most accurate. Reducing emotional reactivity and increasing differentiation. It's about creating more space within the family unit.
Okay, makes sense. Question 145. Which term describes the tendency for individuals in a group to conform to the group's consensus, even when it conflicts with their own views? Options. A, group polarization. B, social loafing. C, groupthink. D, diffusion of responsibility.
Let's think. Group polarization. Imagine a group discussing something controversial and their opinions become more extreme.
Even if some had initial doubts.
Yeah, the group dynamic makes things more intense.
Wow, that's interesting. Social loafing. I feel like I've experienced that.
Probably. It's when individuals put in less effort in a group.
Like those group projects where some people slack off.
Exactly. Then there's groupthink.
Okay, tell me about that one.
Groupthink is that pressure to conform even when you disagree. It's like when a team makes a bad decision because no one wants to speak up.
So it can lead to some pretty bad outcomes.
Definitely. And lastly, diffusion of responsibility.
What's that one?
Imagine witnessing an emergency.
Okay.
With a lot of bystanders, everyone assumes someone else will call for help.
Oh yeah, that someone else will handle it mentality.
Yep.
Okay, back to the question. Which term describes the tendency for individuals in a group to conform to the group's consensus, even when it conflicts with their own views? So which one is it?
The answer is C, groupthink. That pressure to fit in can really stifle critical thinking.
Makes sense. All right, on to question 146. In research, what is the purpose of using a control group? Options are A, to eliminate all variables. B, to measure the dependent variable. C, to provide a baseline for comparison. D, to manipulate the independent variable.
Oh, wait, let's think about a control group.
Yeah.
It's the group in a study that doesn't get the treatment.
Okay, so like you're testing a new therapy, the control group wouldn't receive it.
Right, they're the comparison group. Now, option A, to eliminate all variables. Well, you can't eliminate every single variable in research.
That makes sense. There are just too many factors to control for, right?
Right. What about option B, to measure the dependent variable? Both groups, control and experimental, get measured on the dependent variable, the thing you're studying.
Like if the study's about anxiety, you'd measure anxiety levels in both groups.
Exactly. And option D, to manipulate the independent variable.
That's what the researcher's changing, right?
Yes, like giving one group a new medication and the other a placebo, the control group doesn't get that manipulation.
Got it. So back to the question. In research, what is the purpose of using a control group? What's the right answer?
The answer is C, to provide that baseline for comparison.
Okay, on to question 147. What is the primary goal of reality therapy? Options. A. Resolving unconscious conflicts. B. Helping clients develop a sense of control over their lives. C. Exploring early childhood experiences. D. Identifying and changing distorted thinking patterns.
Let's see. A, resolving unconscious conflicts. That sounds more like...
That's all analysis.
Right. Reality therapy, the focus is on option B, helping clients gain control over their lives.
So it's about empowering them to make choices that align with their needs. Like if someone's struggling with procrastination, you'd help them identify their choices and make better ones.
Exactly. Owning your choices. Now, C, exploring early childhood experiences, that's valuable, but...
Not the core of reality therapy.
Right. And D, identifying and changing distorted thinking, that's more.
Cognitive therapy.
Yep. While reality therapy recognizes thoughts, the focus is more on actions.
Okay, so what is the primary goal of reality therapy? Which one is it?
It's B, helping clients develop a sense of control over their lives.
Right, let's move to question 148. This one's about trauma. Which of the following is a key component of trauma-informed care? Options. A, emphasizing cognitive restructuring. B, encouraging emotional detachment. C, prioritizing client safety and empowerment. D, focusing exclusively on the traumatic event.
Trauma-informed care, it's all about option C, prioritizing client safety and empowerment.
So creating a space where the client feels safe and in control.
Exactly. Imagine someone who's experienced sexual assault. Trauma-informed care would make sure they feel heard and respected.
That makes sense. Option A, emphasizing cognitive restructuring. While it can be helpful, it's not the core of trauma-informed care.
Right. And B, encouraging emotional detachment, that's the opposite of what we want.
We want to help them process their emotions, not shut down.
Exactly. And D, focusing exclusively on the traumatic event.
Yeah, that seems too narrow.
Trauma-informed care looks at the whole person.
Okay, so back to the question. Which of the following is a key component of trauma-informed care?
It's C, prioritizing client safety and empowerment.
All right, question 149. Which statistical test would be most appropriate for comparing the means of 3 or more groups? Options. A, t-test. B, chi-square test. C, analysis of variance, ANOVA. D, regression analysis.
Okay, so you've got multiple groups you want to compare.
Yeah.
A t-test, that's only for comparing 2 groups, like comparing the average scores of 2 classes.
Got it. So what do you use for 3 or more groups?
That's where ANOVA comes in, option C. Analysis of variance.
ANOVA.
It's designed for multiple groups. Imagine a study comparing 3 different therapies. ANOVA would tell you if the differences in their outcomes are significant.
So it helps you see if the differences are real or just random chance.
Exactly. Now, the chi-square test, option B, that's for categorical data like gender or eye color, not for means.
And regression analysis, option D.
Regression is for predicting relationships, like finding the best fit line on a graph.
Okay, so which statistical test would be most appropriate for comparing the means of 3 or more groups? Which one is it?
It's C, ANOVA, your go-to for multiple group comparison.
All right, last question for part 1, question 150. What is the purpose of reflection of feeling in counseling? Options. A, to challenge a client's distorted thinking. B, to explore unconscious motivations. C, to help the client recognize and process their emotions. D, to redirect the client's focus to practical solutions.
Reflection of feeling is all about option C, helping the client connect with and understand their emotions.
So if a client says, "I'm so frustrated with my boss," the therapist might say, "You're feeling really frustrated right now. Things sound tense."
Exactly. It's not about giving solutions. It's about reflecting those feelings back to the client.
Okay, option A, to challenge a client's distorted thinking. That's more.
Cognitive therapy.
And B, exploring unconscious motivations.
Psychodynamic territory.
Right. And D, to redirect to practical solutions that.
Problem solving, not emotional processing.
So, what is the purpose of reflection of feeling in counseling? The answer is
C, to help the client recognize and process their emotions.
And that's a wrap on Module 15.
I hope you found this deep dive helpful.
We covered a lot of ground, but you're on your way to mastering this material. Keep studying, stay curious, and good luck on the NCE.
1, 2, 3.
Nice to be in orbit.